Hello and welcome to another Nordic Takedown podcast episode. This is supposed to be episode 65, unless I'm mistaken. I'm so humble / Adam, joined here by Viktor / Viktor, right?
Yeah, mostly Viktor, actually.
Yeah,
It's only you and me today.
yeah, only
Yeah.
we. And that is not so small either. It means more talking for both of us.
Oh, and we like talking.
Yes. Maybe the one who loves talking most of the pod is Jason.
Yes. Well, we're not shy either.
We're not shy either. Like Jonah might be the humble fourth in the
Yeah.
rambling talking stuff.
Yep.
So today we have quite a solid schedule. Not too much. We are gonna do the Cantina catch up. It's gonna lead. Yeah, of course we are. Gonna lead us into the Minneaplos. Maybe the regionals there. EU still greater than NA at pulling numbers, at least.
Sure.
EU strong with the numbers. And then we'll see. Maybe there will be a spoiler talk in the end as well. Depends on how rambly we are. So a fair warning, might not be a spoiler. But I guess I should start with my round because what you have been up to will lead us into the next topic, right?
That would make sense, yes. So, Adam, what have you been up to this past few weeks?
Oh, yeah. Now it's been a few weeks. I've actually been to 2 store showdowns. One we don't need to talk too much about. Was Eskilstuna. Went 2-2. Lost both games 2-1, and I think it was to top decks, but still, it was not pretty. Then I went to Västerås last Saturday. I wanted to try something else than Quinlan. Like, since I've already done a great result with Quinlan, I don't really doubt the deck or my performance on that. And I usually do these tournament reports after, so it's fun to come with some new deck. So I was trying a lot of Ray and Anakin. Anakin is not very new for me, but it went horrible, for me, and I didn't really know why. So Friday evening, I was like, if it's gonna go horrible, why not try something that I'm usually sucking at anyway, and try to be better.
Really enjoy playing.
Yeah, exactly. So I went I never play hard control because I dislike it. So I went with hard control. At least I felt like I'm gonna get some money, like game time for my money, because my games will be longer. I will play more. So I actually put together Bosk Blue. The deck very inspired by Thork, because he plays it a lot. He has his deep dive video. Apparently, I had given away some cards that was supposed to be in the sideboard, so I couldn't run 3 I'm Your Father, so I had to improvise a little bit. And then I did like a small meta call because I thought it was going to be a lot of ramps. I put 2 Shams and Dulas in the main deck, which was absolutely correct because it was so much Data Vault or like just green stuff. It was Kira, Aiden, Palp, Data Vault. It was like everything. But I ended up undefeated in the tournament, which was quite nice. It took just 1 draw. It was a quite weird draw. I managed to give up because he milled my restock, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna make this happen. And then in game 2, I draw my Bounty Hunter crew, and I was like, this was still in my deck when I gave up last game. I'm pretty sure that could have gotten me back my restock.
What's happened when you don't play a deck enough?
Yeah. So I did that mistake, but I managed to win the second game, and we had 7 minutes left to make a third game. And Kira versus Bosk is not gonna go 7 minutes, so we just said this is a draw. And then I had my first playoff game, like the final went actually all the way to time. I've been a little bit close on this because these are 75 minutes long. It's quite hard to get to time, but it was a rematch, the Kira Dada Vault against Boss Blue. And we actually played 75 minutes and it ended at 1-0.
So this is a strong case not to bring your Bosks to the longer tournaments.
Yeah. To be fair, we played 2.5 games, but the first game became a draw.
You actually managed to draw a game?
Yeah, we actually, in the last round, I knew he was sitting on a vigilance because we were out of cards. We're totally out of cards. He has 6 HP left. I am out of cards with 6 HP left. I know I have restock and he has vigilance. So he cannot place vigilance to heal because then I restock and get all my vigilances back. And I can't play restock because then he mills my restock. So he has to say pass and I have to say pass. And we both take 6 damage and it's a draw. And that was a 40-minute long game.
Oh my! this is this is not this is not this is a PSA to
Yeah.
all you out there considering bringing your Boss Blues. There
Or
are
Kira.
downsides to playing these decks, and you need to be aware of these.
Yeah, like the games were actually quite fun and interesting in a way. And I think like the people were almost most annoyed about it was the people waiting around because there was actually quite a few that watched the game and they were like, "Oh, how did it go?" The first, "Oh, it went to a draw, so now we have 35 minutes to do a best of 3."
And the store owners that wanted to go home.
Oh, yeah. Just, they might have closed after. I'm not sure. But in game 2, I think he must have had a very bad hand because I had a client and then I slammed a crate.
But this was in Westeros.
Yes.
Yes, so Red Goblin.
Yes, the Red Goblin, yeah.
Yeah.
And after I slammed the crate, he played Palpatine's Return to get an Avenger. That means he plays 2 cards. So crate gets to do 16 damage to base. He didn't really know it. So I was like, he played it and I pointed it out and he said he still wanted to play it. So he must have had a bad hand. My response to that was to drop another crate. Because surely he doesn't have great removal.
It's gonna be fine.
Yeah. And then I hit base for 10 with the one standing dragon. And it's like, now, even if he has a blast, it's still 16 damage.
Yeah.
So I won that, and we had 15 minutes left. And like when that ended, I think he done 7 damage, and we were 25 cards left in deck each. So it was a weird and dirty experience playing it, but actually kind of enjoyed it. Which I didn't think I would, actually. I didn't think I would enjoy playing it, but I did. So that was a fun experience. Might try it again.
Nice. And Red Goblin, or Röda Gomblinen as it's called, is a really nice store to play in. I've always enjoyed their events. Always super smooth. Staff is friendly and nice, and it's good space.
Yeah, a fun thing about the staff, like when I signed up, they were like, "Are you Adam Lesberg?" It's like, "Yeah, we mistakenly sent you a pact last summer, right?" I was like, "Yeah, that I needed to redirect," and it's like, "You are not being compensated for that yet, right?" I was like, I don't think so. It's like almost a year ago. Even if I did, I'm not remembering. It was like, yeah. So he was like, just pick 5 packs as a compensation from the store. I was like, okay, sure. It didn't cost me anything to do this stuff, but it was like, so it was quite nice that they actually remembered that I did that, because there was that owner or that guy that had done the mistake last summer. So he was like, you should definitely have this. So that was fun.
Yeah.
Other than that, won some boosters. Now I got my Devastators.
Nice.
Met Pontus, of course. He's Fawcett. He's Westeros local judge.
Yep.
Was actually another guy who got to judge because he wants to be a judge. I think he's from Eskilstuna. Not sure. So Pontus actually let him do some stuff as well. So It was good that we get more judges in Sweden or interested in that. So
Yeah, that's good.
so it was really nice, really nice. So enough about me. There was another event that Saturday. That
Yeah,
was a little bit more high
had
profile.
some more players in it.
Yeah, it didn't have the 860, but
No,
it was more than 11. So it
slightly.
slightly more than 11. Uh, and Victor, you were somehow involved there, right?
Yeah,
What have
so
you
I
been up to?
I haven't actually played that much. As I work as a teacher, this is the busiest time of the year to be a teacher in Sweden.
I
Uh,
appreciate that he's here, guys.
yeah, so it's basically I work 24/7 right now, but I did take the time off last weekend to help out with the stream and the cast of the Minnesota. So I joined C Raptor Wes for the Saturday for the Swiss rounds, and we did the four first rounds of Swiss together, and it was super fun. And Wes is to start this, like the initiative that they're coordinating right now between the content creators in the US and some of the European content creators is it's just a really interesting thing that's going on where content creators come together and try to cooperate rather than compete, and just make better streams, better uh, content. So
Yeah,
they reached out to people from all walks of life and all parts of the SWU community to get as wide a representation of what the SWU uh, what would you call it, community
yeah.
is.
The whole SWU not organized play, sorry,
No,
grassroots play like
yeah,
everywhere.
exactly.
Yeah.
So they asked if I could take the time to join in, and so there were actually three casts that were all coordinating. So while we were casting, we were talking to the other casters, and we were sort of deciding together. Wes and Loopy and I think Claire was the one running the McClunky stream.
Ah.
They all coordinated to get like which games should we cast and to give as good a picture of what's going on right now as possible.
So it was actually three separate streams tables
Yep, three separate stream tables
that were all
coordinated
on.
in a way to get as wide a field a wider view of the meta as possible. So
Was it
if you
one feed or was it multiple feeds?
three different feeds. So,
That's
or
very
actually,
impressive.
isn't it right?
Yeah.
Even though it's actually more than three different feeds, but three cameras were operating
Okay.
on
Yeah.
three tables, and then both the McClunky table had hand cams, and C Raptor is using face cams, so you can see reactions and see. So you always see the face of the players on his stream, and then Loopy had a table for late night gaming, and that feed was also going obviously in Take the Initiative because late night and the Take the Initiative channels are very much cooperating on most streams. So Rebel Traitor and Loopy was casting that one to the both of those two channels, and you could watch the McClunky both on Twitch and on YouTube, as well as C Raptor is always also going both Twitch and YouTube. So that was really really fun, and to be able to follow like different games at the same time, and commentate as we were commentating. We would be able to bring, like, so on that table that happened, and that's one thing that's been brewing. And we talked on the episode a couple of episodes ago. I had Jonathan Fisher on, and he's been working a lot with preparing for this, especially in terms of making more, like being able to pull data directly from Melee as it's been reported and show it on screen automatically. So we had like rolling banners that was showing match results as they were being reported. Well, we were supposed to have that. We didn't actually get to do that exactly, because instead what we managed to do, we're going to get that, but at this point what we did manage to do was, first we had like leader based representation rolling for a couple of rounds, and then once we got far enough into the tournament to actually have standings in any meaningful way, we started rolling the standings as it was updating. So you could see like top 10 rolling. So on the screen, you would have a banner with text scrolling, and you could see top 10 standings scrolling on the screen. And that is what we want to get it to. Or I'm not working that much, but what they are working on, and Jonathan Fisher is really involved in that, and a couple of other guys. A guy from Australia, Kiran, is working a lot with these things, and like, so this, it's the whole community. It's world spanning, globe spanning. They're working on getting this to be able to pull results so that you could see that when a match is reported, you'd see table 93 defeated. And I'm really excited about this sort of
That's
stuff.
really cool.
I think it's so cool. And this is not something that's going to be like on this guy's stream. We're going to get access to this as well. As soon as these tools work, we're going to be able to have it on our streams as well, because it's collaborative. We're sharing it within the whole streaming community. And that's the way to go. I'm
That
super
is
excited.
really amazing. Like, and you're just spreading awesome news here. Yeah, this is the first time I'm hearing about this as well.
I told Jason, and he was sort of jumping up and down when I told him.
I was excluded for the conversation.
Yeah.
No, but I think that is such a healthy mentality.
Yeah.
And
Certainly.
very, what do you say, egoless. Because like, you could, as a content creator, even sit with it and say, hey, we have solved this. You can pay us a little bit for it. Or like, you could have done it in so many greedier way. Or just let anyone, no, we did it. You figure it out yourself. But really awesome, and really nice that you're also helping them out, Viktor, when they are asking.
Of course.
Like, it's not just you getting an honor, you're also helping, right? It's both.
Sure. No, I was just super happy. I love streaming, and be able to do it with a guy like Wes, he's producing everything. All I have to do is talk, which I like. I like talking. I like
Like
talking.
my setup with Jason when we started this pod. It was like, all you need to do is talk.
Yeah. So he brought me on for the first 4 games. We had some really interesting matchups going on. Though the Minnesota meta wasn't as wild as the Lille meta was, or some of the stuff we've seen from European PQs lately. There aren't as much wild things that you haven't heard of showing up.
The meta was kind of set before, and there was no
it's
surprise.
coalescing more. Yeah, it's coalescing more. So we're later on in the meta, but I also think that it's just more of the local meta, if you can even talk about local metas anymore. But the American meta is slightly less adventurous and more going as people test a lot, or use well tested and proved things and concepts. There were some innovation going on, for sure there were, but mostly what you see was things that you had heard of. But there were some interesting things like, I would have never expected the third most played deck to be the Vader 4 yellow deck, and that was the third most represented deck
in day 1, right?
in the wide field, and it converted. It had bad conversion percentage.
I think it was 6 made it to day 2.
Something like that. But a
or at least
pretty large portion of that was that the Bothan network had been working on that as a team deck, or actually Carlos started out working on it, Yoda Killer.
I'm not too surprised.
No, not me neither.
I'm not too surprised about the Vader Yellow, because I've been smacked around by that deck.
Yeah, it's a good deck. It's a really good deck.
I don't find it enjoyable to play against, because I don't think it's that much interaction. Like, it's more, if you don't have the answer, you lose.
Yeah.
If you
it's a strong tempo deck.
Yeah,
it's not interaction free. It's not. It does interact and runs things, but all the interaction it does is kind of a tempo interactions
Yeah.
to be able to then rush you. So yeah, it's
But
very
it's cool that
it,
they still.
yeah, it's a very strong and simple concept of the deck,
Yeah.
and but it's a strong deck, and we saw it won the Stockholm
Yeah.
PQ,
Exactly. Yeah.
and so it's not unheard of or anything. I just wasn't expecting it to be as widely played as it was,
No, that's
and
true.
and
That's true.
and the Bothans had all together worked on this deck for weeks now apparently, but some of the guys just jumped to it last minute and they
Ah,
still performed, like Frank Myers, uh, who I had on the Sabine
video.
State of Sabine
Yeah.
video. He jumped over to that deck, and it's just coming from Sabine. He knows the tempo play style, but the card pool is quite different.
Quite different. Yeah.
It's a different concept still. So and he did really well. Like he bubbled out in the end, but he was in the top all. He was contending for a top spot all along,
Wow.
up
Yeah.
until the very last game. He was still
So he
in
lost it
able.
round 13 and
Yeah,
didn't
well,
make it.
lost. He actually conceded to a teammate last
Oh,
in
okay.
round 13 because he, if he would have won that game, he could have been able to bubble in. He was
It
in a
wasn't. It wasn't for sure.
no,
Yeah.
no, no. He was not a win and in, but he was a win and have a good shot at it.
Yeah.
Whereas Jeff Creasy, who actually joined me for the Oslo
Yeah.
PQ stream, they were matched up, and Jeff had no chance of actually making top 8, but he would be quite close if he won this game. And Frank already had his day 2 buy for Worlds. Jeff didn't, and if Jeff won this, they were feeling pretty confident that he would get a pass down buy. So Frank,
Ah,
yeah, and Frank figured this out. So Frank just scooped, and Jeff was like, "What?" And Frank, but no, 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 don't ask. I'm scooping, but you could get into the top cut, and it's like, I have my reasons, and yeah.
yeah.
So he scooped, and exactly that happened. Frank wouldn't have gotten in, probably. I think the numbers I saw, he wouldn't have gotten in if he won, but Jeff got 10th
Yeah.
when he did that, so he got a pass down. Pass down
Buy
buy.
because
Yeah,
so many of the top cuts
yeah,
already had a buy.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So the Frank did the math correctly.
That's cool.
Yeah,
And
it's cool.
one point on the meta, as you said, with it not being that innovative, I think
Mm,
one of the reasons, and this is not necessarily to say that it's bad, right? But a
yeah,
lot of the Americans are joined in under the KTOD banner
yeah,
or under the Boston Network banner, which means they get a lot of the same ideas.
yeah.
More here in Europe, it's more spread. It's more. I'm not gonna say secretive, but like more smaller testing groups, at least. And some of the really good deck creators like Yosera, he actually
Mm,
makes an innovative
yeah.
deck, and it's always good, almost. So it performs. So it becomes more chances in Europe, I would say, for these surprises than in America, because if so many gather under a banner, everyone is kind of a lot more people at least gets under this is the best, this is what we have decided, right? So why would I go against it, right, unless I find some weird stuff.
No, yeah, and to say to just clarify, it was a very varied meta. There were a lot of
Of
different
course.
decks.
Yeah.
Like it was certainly not a coalesced meta in the sense of no variation. There was
No.
tons of variation in what
Yeah,
was
for sure.
brought and what was actually performing. There was a huge widespread, but and importantly, I think you're absolutely correct, and I don't think it's just it's I think it's the other way around actually. Sure, they are more joined in forums like the KTOD forum and other things, but that I think comes from a very natural reason for that. They are one country, even though Canada technically is a different country. Culturally, they are one country, whereas
Yeah,
Europe is nothing
like
culturally
one
as a one
country.
country.
No,
Like
no, no.
culturally, we are very much different countries. You could say that maybe Scandinavia. is culturally one country,
We're pretty
but not
close at
even.
least, yeah.
But even so, there is more difference. There's more difference.
Scandinavia could be a little bit like US and Canada.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So much like we in our little bubble up here actually do talk and share ideas a lot between Denmark, Norway, and Sweden, it's very easy to gather together in a forum like KTOD when you have the same language, when you travel between different same places, and you have your relatives in a town where someone else. So the connection points are so much more uh, available, so they are a more connected meta, whereas we are a more dispersed, separated
Yeah. And every
metas.
country basically has their own Discord or Facebook
Yeah,
group, like you have the UK, the French, the Spanish, and this is pretty large countries.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and like, if you are in the Italian community,
Mm,
if you're not uber competitive, you
yeah,
don't need to get out of it.
exactly. And you wouldn't know a lot of people outside of your Italian meta. You might have some friends. We have friends all over the world, but we don't
Yeah.
have that many friends outside of the Scandinavian
No.
area. So, um, so it's quite natural that the European meta is more diverged. And then on top of that, in Europe, we have a couple of absolutely mad scientists,
Yeah.
such as Yehosera, who's just always going to cook up something insane
Yeah.
and also good for some reason.
Yeah.
It
He has
shouldn't be
both.
good,
Yeah.
but it's just good. It's just, I don't know. No
Yeah,
one knows.
you can see that because even in Minneapolis, like we see 6 Ray Data Vault in day 2, even,
Oh
and
yeah, no, Ray
that is
Data
his
Vault
day.
was one of the
Yeah,
most competitive decks over there.
yeah.
It's not the Yehosera version exactly because
No,
they
but
usually, but
yeah,
it is his concept, and
if
they've
he
sort
didn't
of,
do it there in
no
Lille,
one would play
it
it. No,
probably wouldn't be here
yeah,
at
no,
all.
no, I
Uh,
don't think so.
I don't think
You'd
the Americans would go there.
I think like they have their own deck teching wizards, but those aren't insane. They
Mm,
aren't bringing the craziest ideas to the table. I guess George the Hulk is kind of insane. Like he's almost a Yehosera
yeah,
style of thing. Like he will bring really weird stuff right
yeah,
quite often and make it work.
but it's still not like Sabine Data Vault or Cadbane Blue or like
Exactly.
or whatever
It's
it
not
is.
as crazy. Or
Or
Akbar.
Bosk Blue when it comes. Oh,
Like
Akbar, yeah, Akbar is
Akbar.
insane.
Like
Yeah,
we have some insane deck tech people out here, and the Americans, like you say, they talk more to each other, so the more insane parts of it gets filed down, I think,
yeah.
and more streamlined. And I don't think that necessarily is a bad thing or a good thing. I think that's a
No,
thing, and
it's
that's
a
it.
thing. Yeah, and
Exactly.
maybe like the problem with the Galactics is that it
Mm,
is in the US,
yeah.
and it would be the same problem it was in Europe. So it's
Yeah.
just you cannot even say if one is better than the other because it's not going to be a fair representation by Europeans versus Americans to see if like, oh, is one of these better than the others? Eh, If I guess if you see 4 Europeans in top 4, then maybe, and it's
That would
innovated
be a
decks.
strong indication
Yeah,
that European meta is something to count on.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially if it comes with like innovative decks. But to
Yeah.
be fair, it's going to be a lot of innovative decks because Galactic is like 2 weeks after a
Yeah.
release,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it won't say much. It will more say about players and testing groups, and
Yeah.
uh, so it would be cool. It would have been cool if like there was some place in the middle that was close for everyone, but there's just not. So we're not going to get an answer
We're
to this.
not going to have the Galactics on Iceland. That's just not a good idea.
I think that would be pretty cool since it's invitational only next year. It could be cool.
Sure, sure. But no one would come.
Well,
There are
it's
only three
invitational only.
players in Iceland.
They fly us over, right?
I guess,
They
I guess.
invited ones.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, like so no super surprise in the meta, as you said. Like maybe a little bit more no, so not cad Vader yellow.
Yeah, there were surprises, but they weren't spit
Successful.
out your beverage kind of
Yeah.
surprises. They were more like, oh, really?
Oh yeah.
kind of surprises, and it was fun.
And to be fair to the Americans, it's harder when some people have already done a few, then
Yeah,
you have to do something more. I think the closest I see here is like for day 2 is the Akbar Colossus, but now I feel less. It feels less crazy when an Akbar Data Vault has already done it. You know.
and it's also very clear that that guy had watched what DJ Clero was
Yeah.
doing, so it was inspired
Yeah.
by that deck already. So yeah, no, I think like what more of an interesting takeaway here is kind of like I would not have expected the Bothans to all, not all, but a lot of them pull the same deck. They have not
Yeah.
done that before, and they
It's
did.
actually quite rare, even in so far. I think
Yeah.
in other card games and teams, that is the usual thing. You decide what's
Hmm.
the best deck. You run exact card for cards together because then you don't have an advantage if you face each other.
Yeah.
Because generally, like uh, like how teams work sometimes, it's not that you scoop. We were going to talk about that, but like if you play each other, it's going to be on fair grounds, so no one is
Mm.
like
Mm.
taking against a teammate. Like we're playing same cards.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah,
Yeah.
continue.
So yeah, no, that was kind of a surprise. That's not what they've usually been doing. And to be fair, that it was just like we have this deck. We have been testing it a lot. Carlos brought in a deck idea, and they worked on it. A lot of them, and then more and more of them coalesced to that deck. But then you had Rebel Resource. Ryan Warner still went with Sabine Yellow. It did really
Yeah.
well.
What
And you
else?
had, yeah, exactly. Cluis kept playing. Quinlan Tarkentown, and he went to top 8 with it. He was the only Bothan in the top 8. And then you had who else was it playing? Oh, of course, Rodney Stubbs, Chris Schutz was playing Ray Tarkentown instead because
Oh,
he's gonna. And Co Dameron was playing his deck, the
Dameron.
hand Co Dameron.
Dameron. Okay.
Co Dameron. He was playing Colby. He was
Okay.
playing the hand to Data Vault that he won the PQ with.
There was quite a few Han 2 data
Yeah,
vaults
that was a
in
very
Paper.
well represented deck. He made a deck tech, a really good, actually a series of deck techs for it. Like he made a 3-part video about the tournament and the deck construction process and the deck. Really good. People should watch that. It's a really good video series he did, and I think it inspired a lot of people. I think that's the Americans have been quite interested but hesitant about the Sabine DV.
Yeah,
Yeah,
even Europeans, to be honest,
yeah.
like
To
they
be
are not
fair, yeah.
jumping on it yet.
No, some people have, and it has done well in a couple of PQs and so on. We've seen some results
Yeah,
with it, but not everyone is running that way. And I think to a lot of people, Colby's hand 2 version of some of the same concepts, I think they're easier to wrap your brain around in many
yeah,
ways. So I think it's easier for people to understand what they're supposed to do with the deck,
yeah.
because
You move it to a mid-range deck instead of an aggro
Mhm.
with mid-range
Exactly.
plays.
Exactly. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. So I think it's easier for people to wrap their brains around, and that's why you see people flocking to it. And also, it did pull results just before. It's yeah.
yeah, it's not a bad deck
No,
by any
it's
means.
by
So
any means it's a good deck, and you also had but you had a few hand to ECLs as well. So the
yeah,
European version, the Swoop Racer version, well, Enigma version nowadays, right?
yeah. They are both. They still have their channels. So
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, whichever you
yeah,
prefer, but the version that was in Lille and did well. I mean, they did well
yeah,
with
they
that
did
deck.
very well. Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, that you saw that as well, and a lot of other things that's been true and tested and nice. Some things did well. It
yeah.
was a good tournament overall, and it was far from the closed meta that we had in the beginning of the set. It was wide open. A lot
Hopefully,
of
we
people.
never get that again.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Hopefully, well, I'm not promising anything. They have since
That
we've
was
seen it,
yeah. Yeah.
but we really hope we avoid it.
Yeah. And to be fair, they handle it
Yeah,
fairly
no, fairly
quickly.
fast. Yeah, fairly
Fairly
quickly.
quickly. So I'm not bitter or anything about it.
No,
It's just I'm
the
glad that
Americans
it
were
was.
lucky. Europe tried it out first. They got to
Yeah,
skip it,
exactly,
right?
exactly.
Oh no,
I'm
they got one as well. Yeah,
They had
those
one.
three
They had
countries. Yeah,
not Richmond, the other one,
Denver.
Denver. Yeah, they had
Yeah,
Denver, which was
also fun.
one of the worst Younger Fests ever. But yeah, so that's it. We got a really cool meta. We got a really good, and like it, the right guy won the tournament. Like Offer Wu, more
Yeah,
known as Wu, has been tearing the scene. Like he's been tearing through the scene for a while now. I do believe that if you're good enough to play Kira that well, like he's not the only one that can pilot that well, but if
of course
you
not.
need to be on a very high level. But if you're on that level and you know that deck, I think that is the overall best position deck in the meta right now. I don't think there's anything out there that has so many good matchups as or good to great matchups, really, as does Kira in the meta as it stands right now.
It certainly looks like it. I think. Yeah, it doesn't have that many dead matchups, and
Yeah,
that's the
not
advantage.
among
Uh,
the more well established decks
yeah,
anyway, and it does have some really good ones
yeah,
in the well established deck pool. I guess Sabine is slightly favored into it usually, but it
but
depends
not
on.
anymore. Not
Yeah,
with the
exactly.
data vault anymore. Like before, ECL you smash it, but with data vault, I think it's. And now I'm talking about the Kira's data
Yeah,
vault.
I understand, but I think that Sabine ECL, if it's configured in a way, it still is favored, but only slightly. And it
Yeah,
depends on the play styles of the players as well.
if if you try to just play against it, maybe you can do it, but then you're losing so much on other things. I think so. I
You
think if
can
you
do
play
something.
this,
Yeah.
yeah, if you play the standard Sabine, I think you're slightly unfavored, but you can definitely win because Sabine can win versus anything. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
and it's on the Kira player to not make a mistake because,
exactly.
uh, but still, like I agree, it seems like the best deck in a vacuum. I think I'm not sure how it is is into the Vader Yellow because it feels like that could be
Which
uh,
one?
Kira into Vader Yellow.
Lady
It feels
Yellow.
like it could could be something.
It
I
could
guess
be so.
if they don't draw barrage.
Yeah, exactly. I heard Carlos talk a little bit about that, and he thinks that Kira is one of the hard matchups that you have to plan a
Yeah,
lot
okay.
for, but he thinks that it's winnable.
Yeah,
That's the way they talked about it, at
I
least in
think
their video.
the only top deck I think Kira is if it's built right,
Mm,
and it's not hard to build it right, is Quinlan. Like Kira is slightly favored in game one, and if you
yeah.
have the right sideboard, Quinlan is more than slightly favored in game two and three.
I think some of the
In my testing,
innovations that Offer has done to the deck, he's running Kalos and some other things. I think that sort of fixes the Quinlan matchup for them. Uh,
not tried that, so I cannot
I
say anything.
think
But
he's good into Quinlan now. He did face a lot of Quinlan. I think I can't
not
remember
Europe's
exactly.
best one. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, yeah.
No, but in my testing, like uh, beating Kira after sideboard is quite easy. But I
Right.
run 3 pillage.
Yeah, yeah.
If
And
you don't do that, it's not fun.
exactly, most Quinlans don't.
But I think you should. You need to consider Kira in the meta.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
um,
no, yeah, for sure.
but yeah,
I I think it's one of those matchups that depends on the deck versions and on
mhm.
the very much like Kira is probably one of the more skill intensive decks out there right now. You
Yeah, it's high
can't.
skill. Yeah,
There's a huge learning curve to that deck. So I don't think testing into it is a little bit tricky because you need to test into someone that is good enough playing it to actually get decent results from it. There's a very big difference playing some rando online, picking up the Kira deck, and playing a guy like Wu.
Of course, yeah.
It's not the same thing.
And it goes with most decks, to be fair, but
For sure.
but yeah, but with control decks in general,
Certainly.
it makes a big difference.
It certainly, and I think like what really differentiates this kind of stuff is like what the curve looks like. If you take a Sabine deck, like a lot of people think that it's a really easy deck to play because you kind of get over a threshold with it. When you
Yeah.
learn enough of it, you plateau out a bit, and you think you've learned all there is to it, and you think this is what it is. It's not.
And that's why you
it
don't win more tournaments.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because you need to go on for a bit, and it's going to take you a while before you start getting better again with that
Yeah.
deck. But with Kira, I don't think that's the case. I think you just get better all the time. You don't plateau out. There's no plateaus on that. Like it's
Yeah,
just
not really. Yeah. I
skill,
get your
skill.
point. It's probably somewhere you don't get, but
Yeah,
it's so much later at least.
yeah. And again with Sabine, that plateau is just a mirage because it goes on for a bit and then starts rising again. If you look at the really best Sabine players, they are way ahead of
Yeah.
the others. So yeah, but still, that's not what we're here to talk about.
No, now we've been rambling a bit there about the decks and stuff, but like
We would never.
right? So to jump the gun a little bit, like top 8 was what was the decks in top 8 now again? I know it was one CAD array.
Let me just bring it up. I forgot to bring it up beforehand, but there was one. Cluis was playing Quinlan, and
Yeah, one Quinlan. Yeah,
and then you had Wu on Kira, and
J was this J or Ray on CAD.
Ray Tan was playing CAD.
Yeah,
CAD
Tada was on
Tarkintown.
Ray.
Tada was on Ray Tarkintown, or was he on Ray's
I think
DV?
it was Dadavolt. I'm pretty
Ray
sure it was
DV.
Dadavolt,
He was probably on Ray DV. I'll have it up in a little bit here, but and then
and
you
then was a
had
Han Green, Alex on Han Green.
yeah. Alex was on Han Green, Han 1 Green.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And then you had Quinlan Queen. Oh, we had a Han 2 Blue. It's Cleffin.
Yeah.
I think it's Cleffin is how you say it, but I'm not sure about that. He's a Canadian guy. He played Han 2 Blue. There was actually 2 Quinlan Tarkintowns. Carlos Apodaca was also in there.
Okay.
He's also a Quinlan expert. So Carlos Cluis on Quinlan. All right,
yeah.
So that's a pretty diverse top 8. Just
diverse top 8.
Off.
Not surprising. The most surprising, I guess, for people would be the Han 2 Blue.
Right, I think so. Yeah,
I know Beton in the Enigmas played a lot of it. He went to a PQ with it, but yeah, like it's not a new deck, but in the context of performing in these big tournaments that we've had this like GTL season, that is the big standout from this
I think
top
so.
cut,
Yeah, yeah. Also, I think a lot of people had counted Cad Bane out. Especially CAD Tarkingtown was probably not on people's radar anymore to do this well, and Ray Tan was just tearing through the tournament with this. To be fair, Ray Tan is an amazing player. He probably could win with a bag of gravel. You know, the guy can play anything.
And to be fair, it's really nice when people count you out, and for the Han 2 Blue player, it was really good that people had jumped off it, because that guy hates Tarkintown.
Of course.
And with a lot fewer Quinlans, a lot fewer, like, it makes sense that he gets to reach at a high point. And I think CAD Tarkintown is not a bad deck. It has some really sad matchups, like Kira.
Like all control, really.
Yeah. But you can, if you're really good, like actually win those. But it's so hard in a best of 3 versus really good players. And it's actually not that great into aggro either. But so you need to, you're really good into mid range. So you need to, if you fail there, if you can't beat mid range with CAD, you should not play CAD. Because that's where he excels.
Then you're not having any advantage with it.
No.
Yeah. So, but Ray Tan is such an amazing player. He's been doing really well in PQs as well lately, and just very good.
Yeah. And as we already said, Wu won the final.
Mm-hmm.
There was actually like a small controversy in the final about
Yeah.
Ray stacking his cards.
Mm.
Uh, I looked a little bit through it, and Thork made a take on it. It looks like, because in a lot of other card games, you get to stack and put
Yeah.
under, and he did it so openly to the cameras that it doesn't really look like an intentional cheating. It could still be, but it's a very bad way of doing it. Like, it's so unsmart, and if you're a smart cheater, you should not do that, and you
I
should
have
not be in the
such a
final.
hard time
Yeah,
feeling that a guy like Ray Tan would cheat openly on
yeah,
camera. He knows he's on stream.
yeah.
Uh, it's
And
so much more.
it's such a
It's
bad cheat as well.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
so, you're probably not even getting to the cards.
No,
Like,
no, yeah, and this is a well-established player.
yeah,
He's been around and he's doing top performances often. So it makes no sense to assume that he did
yeah.
this on purpose as a cheat.
Is it
It
is it not okay? Yes. Is it clumsy? Yes. Should he probably have gotten a penalty for it? Absolutely. But I don't think it was sinister.
Exactly, and it did not affect the outcome of the game.
No, he
We're
still
pretty
lost
sure
2-0.
there was no effect on the game actually, and the most likely, like Arkham Scissor here, the most likely explanation why did he do this? Because he forgot, because he was tired, as you know, as you are. He's been playing. What is he up to today? He's up to 17 rounds of SWU
Yeah.
in 2 days. He's been doing this, so he's going like it's your reflexes. You're playing on your reflexes at this point,
And I
and
assume
if
he's played other card games as well. So maybe
I don't
some
know that
other.
for sure, but I also assume that he's been playing other card games, and this is how it works in most card games, and he just did it that way,
Yeah.
and just I am sure he knows that he should randomize them. And when we pointed it out, you can see it on his face that he's like, oh yeah, oh sorry, and he
No,
shuffles
yeah.
them and he does it. Like there's no debate here. He's not denying it. He's not trying anything. It's an honest mistake. It's a bad mistake. It's
Yeah.
clumsy, and I think he should have gotten those points. You know,
Absolutely.
what do you call it?
Absolutely.
The
The penalty
warning points,
points. Yeah.
the
Warning
penalty
points. Yeah.
points, because it's not what you should do here, and he
Yeah.
should know better.
Yeah.
But
It
it's
is all
clumsy.
up to him, and
Yeah.
it is a mistake, and it's not so big so you should get disqualified.
Oh, no,
But
no.
by no means. But the judges should step in those situations, because in theory, if this was start of game one and he actually did this on purpose, that now they missed giving him some points. Maybe he've gotten points before. Like, now this wasn't the case, but like, obviously those things should have happened. But yeah,
Uh,
that was just that.
It had no effect on the
No.
outcome of the game, so it doesn't really matter. But it is, it's a thing that happened.
Yeah. On the other hand, we have a bigger controversy from this
Mm-hmm.
event.
Yeah.
We are not going to sit here and discuss it, me and Victor. We are going to mention it, of course. Otherwise, I wouldn't have brought it up. But we are going to talk a little bit about. Me and Victor has different opinions on this take, but we are just going to. First, I'm going to tell you what it is for you guys who have missed it, and then we're just going to represent our point of view, basically, towards it in a small way. We're not going to have a political debate here. It's just trying to show both sides, and it's fine to think differently, even though we are quite far from each other in this. So we are understanding each other. We just not agree.
Yeah.
But so you can fill in, Victor, if
Yeah.
I'm missing a
Mm-hmm.
detail here. So basically, what's happening is in the top four. KTOD member Alex, right?
Yep. Alex Landon
chooses to scoop in top four to Wu, which is technically a teammate.
Yep.
Yeah, they're
They are
teammates.
teammates.
They're
They are
teammates.
in the
They're
same restaurant.
KTOD. On the stream, you could see like they had put KTOD on on their names, right? And bottom
Yeah,
at
yeah, and
least.
they're wearing like
Yeah,
matching
jerseys and
shirts.
stuff.
Matching
Uh,
shirts, like, yeah. They are a
uh,
competitive team. They
yeah,
they roll up to events as a team. They represent a team.
which leads uh, Wu to get a nice break before the
Mhm.
final, which it leaves him a better state of winning the final. Uh, and then there is a discussion of why is he scooping in America's biggest tournament where you have just reached a semifinal. Uh, the his statement afterwards is that he was feeling a little bit tired, didn't really think the prices was worth it, yada yada, like a few like arguments to why he scooped, uh, and like of course why like Wu then Wu goes on and then faces a non-team member. It could have faced a team member in the final.
Sure.
Could have.
At that
If
point, they did not know.
they did not know it then. Uh, Obviously, Cad Tarkentown has a favorable matchup into Ray because it's a mid-range deck, and as we talked about, Cad should win those. But that was basically what happened, and the controversies about like, do we like the people just scoops to a team member in a top four? People did, like as you said, you had 3 streams going, so people only got to watch one stream. Like, what implications does this have? And like, yeah. So, Victor, talk a little bit about how you felt about this. You were actually more closer to this, even though you didn't cast maybe the
I was
semifinals.
not part
But
of the casting
yeah,
of any of these games,
yeah,
but I was hanging out in the same chat rooms as
yeah.
the casters. So and at this point, team captain, I guess, of the KTOD team, Bobby Sapphire, Michael. Sorry, yeah,
Bob is fine. Yeah,
Bobby Sapphire was casting. He was in the casting booth. So he had no influence. We know for sure that he was not talking to Alex or Wu
at the
on
time,
this
at least.
at
Yeah,
the time. No. And so my take on this is that there are really two different debates going on here. And I think a lot of people, when they're talking about this as a controversy, they are mixing arguments from the two debates. And I have a very strong stance on one of these two parts of it. And the other parts I'm not at all as strongly opinioned. I have an idea of what I think, but I certainly can see the other side. So let's go for the less controversial part of this, and that's the concept of blocking and the concept of playing as a team to some extent. And I think to some extent that is not a problem. It can go too far. I think that if you start having a hierarchy in your team or having team orders, like what you would see in maybe cycling races like Tour de France or Formula One, where you would have like the team leader would tell who's going to go on and who's going to fold or help the other one do better. I don't want that for this kind of game. What I'm not as opposed to is what we just talked about earlier, what Frank did to a friend. Like, it happens to be a teammate this time, but a lot of people would do it to both teammates and non-teammates. If you're in a position where you don't lose much from anything and you can help a friend out by scooping or IDing or something, I have much less of a problem with that. So for me, what Frank did in scooping to Jeff and giving Jeff the ability to get that pass down day two, that makes so much sense to me. I could have done that as well. Maybe not, but I could have probably done it as well. I understand what Frank did there. I think there's nothing wrong with it. I don't think we need rules stopping people from being nice to each other. This is a game. It is not the Olympics. We're not trying to measure our athletic progress or represent our countries or anything. It's a game. And if you're up against a friend, it's up to you how to do that. I would not like there to be like organized teams that have team tactics implemented. But I would like to people to be able to on the spot make a call of what they want to do. I think that the idea of scooping is important in the game for other reasons, such as you should be tactically able to scoop to get more time for your next game, or you
Like
want to
the
drop.
intentional draw.
Yeah, exactly. Like the intentional draws, and there are lots of parts of it where it's super fine, and that comes with the ability, that opens up the ability to also be friendly with it, but there shouldn't be collusion. So I like the collusion rules as they are. You're not allowed to have collusion, but you're allowed to on the spot make a judgment call and say, "Hey, man, I'll give you this win. It doesn't cost me anything, or I don't care, and it's good for you." I think that's fine. What I don't think that the other part of this debate that sort of makes me a little bit less happy about the debate is that a lot of people seems to be saying that Alex did not do this for the reasons that he says he did it. And I think if you watch the streams of the games before, the grueling games he had leading up to this, you can see it in his face. He is very tired and he is not enjoying his play experience the last few games he had. And going up against that Kira deck that he's been testing against for weeks and weeks and weeks, his teammate, a really good friend of his, he has not been having a great tournament. He has been struggling to make the kind of results that he had. He's one of the best players in the world, and he has not been playing the best game he can do. He's been struggling to reach the point he is. He's so good that he reaches out anyway. Whereas Wu has been tearing apart this tournament. He's undefeated. The only loss on his record is when he scooped to a person that wasn't his teammate to give that a person to get that person a greater chance of getting into the top 8, not a team member. Wu did that to a friend that wasn't a team member. Alex sits across from Wu and decides that I don't want this win as much as I want my friend to have this win. And I'm going to give my friend a better chance. And there's no denying this. No one is saying that this isn't part of his decision process. I'm going to give my friend a better chance of winning the final if he can rest before he gets to it than if he doesn't rest and we play this game. And I don't want it. So why would I play my friend? And he scoops. I would never make that decision, but I don't think we should disparage Alex for doing that decision. And I have no reason, I don't see any reason why to doubt him at his word here. There seems to be, much like we talked about Ray Tan here, I can't see why we are thinking this is foul play. He's doing something that is within the rules. There's nothing to suggest. There's the possibility to insinuate other reasons, but there's nothing really pointing to those. And doing so, I think, is because you don't. And I understand a lot of people don't like blocking. A lot of people don't like the ability to do blocking. And when you then make it seem even more sinister by saying that there were other things involved in what Alex did here, then what he says it was that he wanted to give his friend a better chance. And he did. He gave him a better chance by giving him the space to rest there. That's what triggers me a little bit. I don't like that people insinuate that he's doing this in bad faith. I don't like that.
Yeah. So, and you can probably figure out where I'm standing in it by us saying that we are not agreeing completely. But I think you make some certain good points, and I want to shout out like, whatever you think about this, Alex is not a cheater because this was allowed by the system. So the problem is the system wrong? That is like the big part of it. I think a part of the blocking problem, I don't think you can, like, it's not an act of heroism to like scoop to a friend or anything, like, because you're actually screwing someone else over by the process. If you make your friend come into the top 8, you kicked someone else out. So it would be more heroic to actually beat your friend fair and square than sending him in for like competitive integrity, in my opinion. But like, it's natural to want to send your friend or teammate to the top 8. It is all fine. Like, it's not sinister. It's just kind of human. But I don't like the idea of putting it like some kind of heroic act to do it. It's like, no, you're screwing someone else over either way. Like either you screw your friend over or another person, and most people would choose to screw not your friend over. It's it's all good. I don't think we can get away from that because then you have to restrict the game too much. On the other part here, on the top four, like on the other hand, like I find the argument extremely lackluster. On the other hand, that he scooped because he was a little bit tired or felt like he was really exhausted or had like he chose to scoop to his teammate and not to the other guy. I think the pain did probably not appear in the 45 minutes, so that was an active choice. And I find like they are.
No one is denying that.
No. I absolutely not. Absolutely not.
He wouldn't have scooped in top 4 either if it wasn't a team member.
Yeah,
we can be pretty sure of that.
Pretty sure, yeah. And so I'm quite like, of my opinion, it's quite clear that KTOD wants this win, like as a team, because they are all part of the team, right? And for me, it looks like for me, the highest probability of this is he thinks that Wu has the highest chance to bring the K to the win if Jay wins versus Tada, which is not unlikely because it's a bad matchup. And like, if he makes that choice himself, that is fine. Like if it's not pushed by Bobby or Wu or anyone is in any kind of hierarchy, it is kind of fine. I still don't necessarily like it as a pro, because it makes an unfair, like it's very unfair for Jay because it kind of stacks the deck against him. Like if that is the game plan of them, if that was to say that was predetermined before, if we reach to the semifinals, we are going to get ourselves to the best chance. If that was decided beforehand, that is not a good experience. I'm not saying this was the case. It might have been an on-spot decision by him. But for me, it's very clear they wanted KTUD the best chance to win. And I don't like that concept. Like, I like the team should be some practice. You should help it. You want to go further, but it's in the end, it's a 1v1 game. It's not Formula One or cycling where you're 7 people or 2 pushing one to win. Unless FFG decides it's going to be that way, then it's all good. But so that's where my problem is. It hurts the competitive integrity, and like I find the arguments a little bit too short. Like, it's the biggest tournament in the US. If you don't like the price, I don't find this I don't like the pricing argument convincing enough. Like, the pricing shouldn't really matter when you're a competitor and you have reached the semifinals. And I have no problem with them having that as a strategy because it was in the rules. I have a problem with it existing afterwards, if that is the case, because I don't want. Because even if this wasn't super sinister, like if this is okay, then there is completely fine by the rules to have a team that has a team hierarchy decided pre-tournament to say, and we can play with it that it's the Nordic takedown coming in and like saying Jason is going to win every single game he faced versus our guys because he's the one editing, doing most things for the podcast. Number 2 is Adam because he joined the second, then Jonah. Nobody can say anything about that because it's up to us, basically. Like, people don't have to go through to those premises beforehand, but they can. And so that's what I don't want for the game, basically. And I think this is touching that area because we actually, even if I don't necessarily think it's the case, this could have been predetermined by K2D. It could have. We don't know. I don't necessarily think it is, but since it could, it's a problem. And that would be very sad. And that's basically my take on it, why it's a problematic thing in the grand scheme.
Yeah, I think that's the argument. And this is important to clarify that we disagree on some of the finer points of this. I think there are, at the ends of both of these arguments, we are very much in agreement. Neither of
Yeah,
us wants this to be like Formula One.
yeah,
And as the rules are written right now, it is forbidden to collude.
yep,
So if somehow we were to find out that there was collusion here, then there was actual cheating going on.
yep.
But we have no proof of that, and that's where we're at right now. And as you say, no one should accuse anyone of cheating at this point, because
No,
there's nothing to prove that there was
it's
cheating going on.
completely fine to think they did, but you cannot accuse them. Like, if you
Exactly.
think that's the most likely story, that there was some sort of collusion, uh, for example, I wouldn't be surprised if Wu split his prize with him. I would afterwards. I'm not surprised if that happened. I'm not saying it did or will happen, but I would not be surprised because they are a team member. Like, I can just think about myself if I would have my best. Now these are not best friends, but I best friend. We are
Well,
in the same.
they're really good
They're
friends.
really good friends, but I don't know them, so I can't say how close they are. But if I were there with my best friends and we're sitting there in the semifinals, and he's like, "Oh, I can beat you, but I can't beat the finalist, but you can," and he says, "Sure, go win." I'm not gonna say, "Oh, thank you," and you're getting nothing for it. Of course, I'm going to split it with him afterwards. He doesn't even have to ask it. I'm going to give him something for it because it was generous. Like, he didn't have to he did not have to send me to the final. So I am, and that's not collusion. It's like, it is collusion, but it's
That's actually collusion.
yeah, but he didn't ask for it.
True.
But I'm like, that is understanding you're doing something for me that I didn't deserve or wasn't justified. You didn't have to, and that's human nature to want to split. So you can think they did it, but there is no proof of it. There is nothing to. So there is like no point of accusing. I don't think they have any. They have a record of scooping to each other in other tournaments, but like Americans like to split, but that's not legal anymore. So, but they are not convicted of anything. They haven't cheated. Like, scooping is not cheating. Like, even if it is to send a team member, you can dislike what happened, but the person's, for what we know about it, acted in accordance to the rule book until something else is would be revealed. I don't know what that would be. I don't think anyone, if there was collusion in the KTD, would go out and say we did it. So I think that would stay hidden if that was the case. But that's basically it about the controversy. As I said, we like to ramble, so
We do.
there would be no spoiler talk today.
We will save that for some other week.
Yeah, but really thank you to you, Viktor, to join in again, to make time in the hectic teacher schedule.
Oh, next week is going to be so nice when
Then
it's all done.
free. Yeah, it's all free. But yeah, don't remember which ones are next week, so I'm not gonna tease that. But
Oh, I do, because it's my week next week.
it's Viktor.
And we're actually looking to talk a little bit about what streaming brings to the table,
Nice.
what advantages it bring, what good things come out of streaming, but also what kind of setbacks and what problems there is with a lot of tournaments being streamed. So we're going to bring on some different points of view and talk a little bit about streaming.
Sounds good. All right. With those words, that sounds like a positive end. I will wish everyone, may the force be with you.